Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tallgrass Film Festival. I am so excited to be here with the writer-director of Dramarama and with one of the amazing stars. I'm Erin. I'm a member of the Filmmaker Advisory Board this year, and y'all may have seen me last year at Tallgrass with my short film. And I'm so excited to be back. So thank you all so much. First, I want to introduce Jonathan. Jonathan, I was shocked to see that this is his first feature because Jonathan has like the craziest resume. He's done 5 award-winning short films. He was a programmer at the LA Film Festival. He's got an MFA from UCLA. He's a fellow at the Sundance Labs. He's a film professor at multiple schools out here in the Southern California area. So, hello, Jonathan, and thank you so
Oh,
much for being here.
thank you so much for moderating. I really appreciate it. And I'm so happy to be at Tallgrass. It's a festival that I've tried to get into many times. This is the first time. So there we go. Just
Oh
add
my
that to my
God.
resume.
Here you are. And we're also joined by the lovely Nick Pugliese. So thank you so much for joining us. Nick, you'll recognize him immediately because he's one of the incredible stars of the film. And Nick has also been on television. He's been on 13 Reasons Why. And I happened to read an interview with him, and I know that he's a real drama kid at heart. So, Nick, hello and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to ask Jonathan a very important question. Did you read my diary? Because I feel seen in a way that's uncomfortable.
I'm so glad.
I so related to, I mean, I'm a musical theater kid. I went to NYU. I was like, oh my God, this is me and my
Wow.
friends. So I felt immediately that this had to come from personal experience because it was just so dead on. Is this a little bit based on your life?
Oh yes, very much so. Yes, yeah. This was me taking out my high school diary and rereading it and cringing the entire time. And basically putting my friends and I into a blender and adding some fiction for dramatic interest. But the details of who we were and our hopes and our dreams and what we were interested in are that's all definitely from truth. So
It had definitely the ring of authenticity. I especially loved when she was talking about stage actors versus screen actors. I was like, oh my God, someone literally recorded me when I was 19. And Nick, I know that you're a theater kid too. So when I don't know what your audition process was like. Maybe you can bring us through that a little bit. But when you first got your hands on this script, what did you think?
Okay, well, yeah, so the audition process was honestly pretty quick. It was just a self-tape and then right into director-producer session, and then I think the next day I found out I got it. Yeah, it was this amazing thing where I saw so much of myself in Gene, even though he and I had very different environments growing up. Um, but yeah, a big part was, I grew up doing theater, but I never considered myself so much like super theater kid. I was just in the group of it, which is very much Gene. He's like the least motivated of the group, but he's still in the group. He's still doing it. He's still dressing up, just giving the least energy.
Mhm.
And that resonated with me.
I love that. It's also kind of funny, just the three of us here are kind of three generation. There's some generational differences probably, but that we all know what that thing is of like being a drama nerd.
hmm
And that
I
still
think
speaks.
yeah, it's funny because I wasn't sure, as the Gen Xer of this trio, I was not sure if that was still, if what we were doing then was still relevant. And it seems like once a drama kid, always a drama kid, that these things have been passed on to the point where like Gen Z kids are still throwing murder mystery parties.
I mean, literally, it was in Booksmart. It was a plot in Booksmart,
Yes,
which is
yeah,
like the
exactly.
now movie.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I love that there's this that there's this like tradition of what it means to be that kind of a kid. And I feel like even if you don't end up doing theater afterwards, you always sort of identify with that tribe.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I thought you did so well and it especially stood out to me, I think now because we can't see and touch people, but how physically connected they all were, always holding hands, always, wrestling and tickling and all of that really resonated with me. Thinking like, oh yeah, I did like hold hands with all my friends in high school, and I was really curious, but for both of you, for Jonathan, how did you kind of come to that and create that environment? And then for Nick, how did it feel, getting that level of physical contact with what I'm guessing when you showed up was like a bunch of strangers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely was very interested, even though the script was, pretty precise. I definitely was very interested in making sure that because they're drama kids and because they improv at the drop of a hat, to make sure that the actors felt like they were comfortable to do that and to, as we say in theater, fill your moments. And so I think that permissiveness helped them break through to the physicality part about it. And then the like luck part of this cast is that they actually got along like gangbusters off set. And so as the production continued, they just got closer and closer every day, and all of that just read on camera more and more. So it was really a combination of me trying to give them the freedom to do that, and them actually taking the torch and running with it full steam.
Yeah, no, it definitely was a half and half process. Because yeah, some of it was scripted, like of course, the wrestling parts and choreographed and everything. But even we had one rehearsal day, and even in those, Jonathan made sure that we really we went everywhere. We had fake arguments, political arguments from the perspective of our characters, and then the perspective of other characters, and then we would do these wrestling matches and things that really just out the gate we were comfortable with one another. And then just being so close on set as well, and how well we got along. It was this even in between takes, after set, before set, on the weekends, we were like that. We were close, and we were like touching, and we were just like arms entangled with one another. And it was just, so it just kind of like what we were doing off set is what we did on set, and it was filmed. But
I love that. You
yeah.
can see the chemistry on screen and such incredible young actors. I mean, kudos to you for the casting, but I know there's also a personality kind of magic that happens when you can't do a bunch of chemistry reads. So, I mean, that really comes across on screen.
Yeah, I mean, we were, obviously we tried to do our best with the casting, but it was lucky at the end of the day that, because we couldn't read any of these actors together. We just didn't have the time or money to. As you know, in film, it's not like theater where you get to pair everybody up.
Yeah. But they're also so brilliant individually. And, I come from the acting world, so I have very high standards. And I was like, look at all these great young actors. We're going to be watching them for years.
Oh, thank you.
I'm very proud of them.
They're so good. I also want to talk about, so there is this, sense of this camaraderie and this feeling of being part of like a nerdy group. I think it expands beyond, obviously I relate directly to the theater-ness of it, but I think a lot of high schoolers and a lot of, kids kind of at that age have a nerdy group. And I'm interested in your choice to go ahead and set it in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, so part of that is just because it is semi-autobiographical. I really felt like it needed to be grounded there in terms of just my access to my memories of that time. It just seemed to fit in that time period. And then there's some thematic things that I don't feel like would work in the same way today. One of the things that I bring up sometimes is just how the political ideologies are kind of all over the map with this group, and that seemed more possible in the 90s than it does today. just it feels a little more tribalistic today. And you know, things like social media and cell phones, and it's like a there's like a certain layers of being a teenager that I did not navigate personally, obviously, that I was not interested in unpacking, if that makes sense. I was kind of more fascinated by what made things unique back then. And then that also extends to the queer themes as well, obviously. The idea of, you know, being in a community that is so conservative that you, even to your best friend, you would never come out of the closet because it's so terrifying and so not, you know, not something that anybody would do during that time period. And so for those reasons, I really felt like it was important to keep it in the time period that I was growing up in.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of strips it down to the relationships more than all the extras. Also, aren't we all trying to find ways to keep cell phones out of our films? I mean, really.
Yeah. True.
So boring. Oh, we're gonna watch someone texting. How fun.
Right.
But I love the themes too about, sorry, that's my toilet running. Can you stop?
No,
Thank
no,
you.
it's impressive though.
Um, I love the themes too about, you know, what are we hiding? And it seemed like, you know, it wasn't just Nick, you weren't, Jean wasn't the only one who had something to hide. So I'm curious too, just how did you come to that, Jonathan, in the writing? And then, you know, as the characters, how did you, as the actors rather, how did you play with what am I hiding versus what am I revealing?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I mean, I love teenagers. I love working with teenagers. I love stories about teenagers. And I think a lot of that is because it's such an interesting time in your life when you're trying to figure out who you are and who you want to project to the world. And there's, you know, it's kind of a period where you're trying on identities. And, you know, I just even remember you'd hang out with your friends and you'd be like, I don't know who I'm going to get today because you know, what mood is this person going to be in today? And I felt like setting it in this sort of transitional mode where all these characters were going to go into this next chapter of their lives in college was, you know, a kind of a fertile territory where they were really projecting who they wanted to be in the future. And I think part of that is about concealing what you don't want people to see and what you you know, what you're afraid of showing. And I felt like having the pressure of this last opportunity to be together was a really great device in a way to sort of showcase what that teenage transition is from adolescence into adulthood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, it's very obvious with the character of Gene what he's trying to hide and not show and all of that. And I think, you know, and Love Simon, Jennifer Garner's character, I love her. She says it so well where it's like, you feel like you finally are able to exhale, like you're holding your breath. This, like, you're just like under the surface, there's always something that you are trying to cover up and trying to protect. And it shows through how you stand, how you inflect your sentences, all of that. And so I think that was kind of my main thing was like, everything is hiding something, every action, every word, which was exhausting. But, you know, I mean, I think it's something that we can all relate to, maybe not in that exact situation, but we're all trying to hide. It's a universal feeling when you're trying to find yourself before other people can find you. Yeah, so that was my experience. But
Yeah, awesome. Well, I want to get into a little bit of the nitty gritty. Tell us some juicy stories. Was there anything unexpected that happened while you were filming? It can be good or bad.
Gosh, I think, I mean, honestly, like them becoming so close was something extremely unexpected. I was just not.
Us liking each other.
I mean, they just the wonderful gift of this movie is that they actually see each other all the time. Like they've become the characters in the movie. Like
Yeah.
they are like tight with each other, and that was something I never even remotely anticipated was going to happen. I love it so much. It's like our friend group. I turned it into art, and then the art turned these people in real. I mean, it was just like it's it's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, and what a gift to young actors trying to navigate, being in LA. That can be very lonely. So I think you've given them the gift of community.
Yes. Yeah. It was amazing for that reason. Yeah. This was my first feature experience and like actual role in a project. So really, truly everything was unexpected. I was just like going in and it was each day, each hour was a learning curve. Uh, and it just happened to be just like the most amazing experience of my life so far. So it was.
Nick said that he came home the first day and was so exhausted that he told his roommates he didn't know if he could get through the entire.
Okay, I will say that was the unexpected thing, was the exhaustion. And also I didn't think I was like that actor who like took it with them and like needed to shed off the day or whatever, but there were car rides where I would just like drive home crying because this character is in so much pain for so much of it. And so maybe that was unexpected, was learning the kind of actor that I am and
Yeah.
how I need to work on that.
Right. I mean, I think, yeah. I think that's like something you don't know until you're doing 8 times a week on Broadway or you're doing a month and a half or whatever. How long was your shoot? I'm curious.
It was actually quite short. I mean, we shot the whole thing in 16 and a half days.
Great. Wow.
So it was a fast pace. Yeah,
And it was mostly that one location in the house.
correct. Yeah, yeah. Almost the entire thing was in that house. Yeah.
What were some of the biggest challenges, whether to just getting this project, off the ground or getting it made, or what were kind of some of the stumbling blocks, and how did you get through those? Because you created an incredible film.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I think it's interesting. I had always intended for this to be crowdfunded in terms of how I was going to get it made. But then, to secure the rest of the equity, I went out to production companies. And I think that one of the biggest challenges was that I was told that the film was neither gay enough nor Christian enough. That there's a market for Christian films, there's a market for gay films, and these two things do not overlap. And therefore, the film was a problem. And I was convinced that was not the case. I was convinced that there could be a film that tackled both of these topics and didn't alienate people. But it was hard, and it obviously made me self-doubt whether or not I could move forward with the film because of that criticism from the marketplace.
I think that also speaks to, when you're making a film for what's the goal, right? And for your first film, you want it to be a true reflection of your ideas and values and versus, a lot of people make movies just to sell them to the marketplace. So,
Right. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yes. And if it doesn't fit the mold of the last 100 movies, it it's it doesn't make sense to some people.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think there's a market for it as a former closeted queer theater teen. Um, there's a lot of us, okay? Gosh, this time flew by, and I know we're going to lose Nick in a few minutes. So I just want to ask, ooh, this is a good one. I want to ask, what are you most proud of in the film?
Gosh, I mean, honestly, this is going to be sound like a cheeseball answer, but my favorite thing about making a movie is collaborating with other artists. Everyone from costume designer to the DP to the actors, and every single person that I got to work with on this film brought something beautiful from their own creative spirit and their own expertise. And I am just proud of every artistic contribution to the movie. I just think everyone just made it so much more beautiful than where it started.
Awesome. Nick,
And
especially with this being your first, big role in a feature.
I know. That was, yeah. I mean, aside from that, because obviously I just lucked out. It's crazy. I think about it all the time and talk about with the cast how we were just so lucky. I think really truly the moments I've felt the most proud are when people either in Q&As or over Instagram or whatever it may be, like reach out and say how they've felt seen or they wish that there was a film like this when they were younger. Just because the reason why a lot of us go into this is to create art that speaks to people and to lend a voice to those who feel like they may not have one. And so just to like hear that it's really resonating with people is amazing. I mean, it's the only thing I could ever ask for. So that's been really a silver lining of 2020.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. And this virtual festival circuit.
Yes.
I mean, I think the good thing about the virtual circuit is we get to sit down and have conversations like this, rather than doing a 10-minute Q&A when everybody's trying to leave the theater and get to the next screening.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to keep you, but I do want to make sure we end on Jonathan. What is next for the film? Where might we be able to see it, or what can you tell us about that? And then I'd also love to hear from each of you what is next for you as artists, and maybe what you've been working on during this like weird quarantine time.
Yeah, so we're playing in a lot of virtual festivals this fall, and we're talking to a lot of distributors about 2021. So you can definitely expect that there'll be a 2021 release. And please, everybody that liked this movie, tell your friends, because we need ground support for our little movie. In terms of what I've been working on, nothing but this movie. It's so much work.
Oh,
I was like literally just working on the subtitles a minute ago. It just never ends. It's all this movie all the time. It's just this movie all the time, which I love, but there's no space for anything else.
Yeah. Also, can you tell us where we can follow the movie? Because we'd love to give support with follows and likes, right, Tallgrass audience?
Absolutely, yes. So we're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter at Dramarama Movie. And we also have a website, dramaramathemovie.com. And you can follow us at any of those things and get all the updates about where we are next.
Awesome. So any of you, if you liked the movie, go follow, because unfortunately, people look at those things.
It's true.
So let's give them so many followers and so many likes and comments.
Thank you.
Awesome. And then Nick, what's next for you? And then also, where can we follow you and keep up with what's going on?
Well, as an actor, I've just been playing the auditioning game, which has been interesting because it's all self-tapes and Zooms now. So that's with that. And I actually have picked up writing in this, screenwriting, which I never thought would be my thing, but I'm surrounded by a group of other artists who are writers. And so I'm collaborating on a couple of things. We'll see. They're just fresh. We don't know where it will go, but I think they'll be good. Where you can find, I only have Instagram, and it's Nick Pug. That's it. That's the only social media I have. I'm not like the most active, but I try to be okay about it.
Awesome.
It's very funny when he posts sometimes.
Well, I'm so excited to see what's next for you because I know you are going to have a long and exciting career ahead of you. And Jonathan, just congratulations on such a beautiful first feature. I mean, honestly, I was shocked. I was like, this is his first feature? But it's just so clear, and it's so clear by watching the film how much you all loved each other and loved the film. I always feel like you can see that on screen, whether it was a good experience or not on set.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you guys, that Jonathan, you created a wonderful environment for everyone. And
Well, thank you so much, Erin, and that means a lot. Coming as a filmmaker yourself, that means a lot. And thank you so much to Tallgrass for programming the film. Really, it's awesome.
yes, again, thank you so much to Tallgrass. Thank you, all the sponsors and whoever we're supposed to thank. We thank you. But mostly, thank you, Nick, and thank you, Jonathan, for joining us
Thank you so
today.
much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.